Hello and welcome to AFSCME Corrections Update. I'm Chuck Stout, AFSCME Council 31 Labor Relations Specialist and Illinois Department of Corrections Liaison. The IDOC Labor Management Standing Committee meets regularly to tackle some of the most urgent problems facing correctional employees on the front lines. The labor members of the Standing Committee are local union members who work in correctional facilities across the state, so they have firsthand knowledge of what's actually happening on the job every day. This broadcast is aimed at keeping union members and IDOC informed about the work of the Standing Committee, the problems we've resolved and the ones we're still working on, as well as other important developments. In this edition, we will cover the Stateville Closure mess, drugs and exposure incidents, continuing staff assaults, and the ban on Styrofoam. IDOC management has been trying to shut down Stateville Correctional Center for months now. AFSCME fully supports building a new facility on the Stateville grounds, but we do not believe there's any good reason to close down the current facility immediately. After a massive turnout and powerful testimony at a legislative hearing in June, the department was set back on its heels, so they decided to try another path. Last month, they teamed up with lawyers who filed a class action lawsuit and got a federal judge to issue a preliminary injunction requiring that all individuals in custody be moved out of Stateville by September 30th. The evacuation plan has been proceeding at breakneck speed, with the individuals being shipped with little time to prepare, little opportunity to address personal belongings, and no firm commitment to maintain educational, vocational, or other necessary programming. Offenders are being transferred to approximately 18 other correctional facilities, almost all of them medium security and almost all of them already chronically understaffed. Last week, AFSCME Local 1866 held a spirited informational picket with a clear message: no chaos, no layoffs. Stateville employees were joined by AFSCME members from local unions all across Illinois in voicing opposition to the department's reckless actions. AFSCME has now begun impact bargaining with the administration in order to protect the jobs and rights of Stateville employees in this process. In addition, impact bargaining will soon get underway as needed at the facilities that are receiving the inmates to protect the safety and rights of employees there. Our union is also fighting in the legal arena. We filed a motion to intervene in the federal lawsuit that produced the preliminary injunction in order to make our case that there is no need for such massive movement out of Stateville. The Standing Committee has been laser focused on combating the introduction of drugs and insecticides into IDOC facilities through the mail. AFSCME has been pressing for change on this front for over a year, and we have finally secured a commitment from the department to revamp mail operations by transitioning to a mail scanning system. The department has now contracted with a vendor, IC Solutions, and expects to begin implementation of the new system, which will scan mail directly to inmate tablets and may identify potentially hazardous substances in the process. Addressing this critical problem has taken far too long, and we know how frustrating it has been for employees like those who have recently been exposed at Big Muddy, Pinckneyville, and Menard. At Menard, the situation was so dire that the department brought in the environmental hazmat team from the Illinois National Guard to assess the situation and try to figure out the problem. Hopefully, we'll see progress on this front soon. If not, we're prepared to take the issue to the state legislature for action. Just last week, a CO at Stateville was assaulted by an individual in custody. The individual had been in the bullpen waiting to go to the hospital when the bullpen was opened to permit his exit. He swung and struck the correctional officer in the head, knocked her down to the floor, and then jumped on her and continued punching her. Two other staff who came to her aid were also injured, and the offender was moved out of the cell house. Earlier this year, the individual in question had been reclassified from maximum security to medium security, ignoring the recommendation of the frontline counselor assigned to his case. Council 31 is actively engaged in combating the ongoing health and safety threat posed by hazardous substances and inmate violence through the grievance procedure and in the courts. We have filed a motion in state court to force the department back before arbitrator Bethel, who previously ruled that DOC was not adequately protecting the health and safety of its employees. We will continue to keep you updated on the progress on these fronts. Finally, the Illinois General Assembly, in its infinite wisdom, put in place a ban on styrofoam dinnerware at every state-operated facility and work location. Apparently, they didn't realize there's a big difference between banning the stuff in the State House cafeteria and banning it in a state prison. Prisons rarely have elevators or dumbwaiters, or at least ones that are operable, to transport plastic or rubber dining trays to higher level galleries and cell houses. It appears the Department of Corrections made no effort to educate legislators or get a variance for correctional centers. The AFSCME Corrections Standing Committee made it clear that our members cannot be expected to tote hundreds of pounds of food and trays up and down 2 to 8 flights of stairs. Additionally, the department rarely has dishwashing machines that work. I'm not sure legislators understand what offenders do to their trays in many prisons, but if they did, they wouldn't want to eat off the tray no matter how it was washed. The Standing Committee demanded that any styrofoam trays being stored or held at facilities without stairs in the cell houses or housing units be diverted to facilities with stairs. The department needs to act immediately to determine if there are compostable alternatives to styrofoam and to put reasonable alternatives in place. We will continue to press the department to find a reasonable means to comply with the ban. Thank you for joining me for another edition of AFSCME Corrections Update. We hope this was a helpful way for you to get information. We will continue these updates, so spread the word to your coworkers about this broadcast. Be safe out there, have each other's back, and continue to be AFSCME strong.